Hey guys, welcome back to the Game Boyz podcast.
We're back.
Hey guys, I'm Pat.
And I'm Bowman.
We've been gone for a long time, and now I think we're back permanently. Got all our scheduling issues worked out, and me and Bowman are officially friends again after the last incident at the Game Boyz YouTube channel. So we'll jump right into this, and I think Bowman has a topic for us.
Yes, my first topic is a strange one. Following the recent events in Florida, Donald Trump called a meeting about video game violence that no one is aware is taking place. I don't know if you read anything about this.
I heard about it. I kind of wrote it off. I think it's just another situation of people need somebody to blame, something to blame. I don't think, it's one of those situations where you don't really want to admit that it's just there's some terrible people out there. And when something like this happens where you have the death of kids, you end up with a situation like this where it's just it's got to be some other thing. It can't just be that people are disgusting sometimes and that someone would want to go out and kill children. Typically, I think it's a situation where you have to find someone, something to blame, and it's easy to go back to video games because obviously violence is a big part of video games. But you end up in a situation where at what point does it stop? Why aren't we looking at violent movies? Why aren't we looking at violent books even? At what point do we say, we live in a culture that kind of glorifies violence, and that's a big way that humanity has always gotten its entertainment through violence and using that as an outlet. And I think it's just a way to point the finger and say, especially when you're talking about the Republicans and Donald Trump and stuff, and not to get too political, but they have their political alliances, right? And you don't want to be in a position. It's a lot easier to point the finger at video games than it is to say, well, maybe we should crack down on gun sales and things of that nature, which I'm not necessarily saying is the solution, but it's, they need a scapegoat basically, and I think that's what it is.
Yeah, regardless of where you stand on gun control and how to even make sense of all the violence that happens in America with mass shootings, I'm just surprised that we're still going back to this discussion back in in 2018. It's just very strange to me.
It's nuts. It happens every 10 years or so. It almost, in the 80s you had the scare with rock and roll and stuff.
Yeah.
In the 90s you had all the stuff with Columbine. You had the issues with Doom and even, Night Trap and stuff, which was kind of separate. And then in the 2000s you had Grand Theft Auto, and you had that senator or lawyer or whatever, Jack Thompson, trying to get violent games banned. And here we are in the 2010s with the same shit over again.
We're almost in 2020 and we're still dealing with this. It's crazy. Do you think an actual meeting will take place? Do you think any type of political change could possibly influence video games, or is it just going to be something that's kind of grazed upon and not even really talked about for too much longer?
I think that when it comes down to it, nothing major will happen because you're talking about a form of media and therefore a form of the First Amendment, free speech. And when you get into they're talking about taxing,
right? Taxing mature rated games,
which on a side note would be awful because they already kind of do that with rated R movies and mature games in the sense that you can't buy them or go see them if you're under the age, and you can't for movies you can't bring the kids out.
Finance is already discussed about this.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So when you talk about taxing mature games, you put them in a position where they might not make a mature game. They might have to change really their vision of what the art form should be. They have to take into consideration, well, now we have to pay a tax on top of this, so let's try and stay away from that mature rating. And you end up with basically what we got in the late 2000s and early 2010s with movies, where they tried super hard to stay away from the R rating, and you ended up with a lot of like bad, watered down horror movies and action movies. And I mean, you look at The Expendables 3, that was a great example. They went from being a hard R to a PG-13, and that movie flopped terribly.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how the jump scare medium came about with horror movies. And yeah, so I think it would hurt the game development community, and I think it would hurt the consumer a lot. So I think if a meeting does take place, and if this makes any real ground, you're going to see a big outcry, because like I said, it's a problem with the First Amendment, and it's a slippery slope. If you start censoring one art form, then the others are soon to follow. And I think there will be a big outcry, and I don't think they'll be able to get it done, frankly.
Video games aren't as young as they used to be, because everyone who was defending video games back then, because we're at the point where everyone who played violent video games back in the 90s and everything, we're all like in our 30s and 40s and everything, and like there's a lot more people who are voters now. Mm-hmm. And I remember back then when these conversations were happening, games typically, yes, they were still played by adults, but a large audience was still children. So there's a lot less people speaking up out against violent video games, and how, well, I play this violent video game.
Right.
I've never made any violent move. I have a clean record.
Right. Yeah, I think it would be a lot different nowadays, because you have a situation where, like, recently, John Carpenter was in the media because he talked about how he was addicted to what's that game? The sci-fi shooter sequel that made by Team Bungie.
Destiny?
Yeah, Destiny 2. He was obsessed with Destiny 2. And so you have these high-profile celebrities that play these games, and if you start talking about censoring them, it now affects, like you said, it's a different demographic. It's now affecting people who have real power. I mean, and I know it's a stupid example, but in that House of Cards show, the president plays games. He plays the Vita and stuff, and I don't think Trump's sitting on Air Force One playing his Vita in the back room, but there's got to be people in politics, in the limelight, that when you start talking about censoring stuff like that, they'll come out, and it will be a bigger deal than Sega versus Nintendo, gaming versus gaming. It will then turn into the people versus the government, essentially. Yeah. So that's where I'm at on it. I don't think too much is going to come of it, but hopefully too much doesn't come of it.
We can just leave it at that for now. We'll talk about it more if something else updates. Right now, it's just all speculation.
Yeah, it's all hearsay. So, we'll move into a more lighter note after that, after that grim situation.
Didn't mean to open it up that way.
I want to talk about what was your favorite game of 2017?
2017 was a really, really good year for video games. It was
amazing.
I remember you and I were talking. We're just like, holy crap! There's so many like giant first party games that just keep coming out, and there's just too many to even keep track of. Yeah, third party games, indie games. I don't know, because I feel like 2016 was not a great year. I don't know if that's just me remembering of me just being a little bit more harsher on it. But 2017, I'm gonna give it to Cuphead, just for the sheer fact that I didn't play a lot of the other big games. I'm currently playing Persona 5. I play Persona 4. That's an older game, so I can't give it to Persona 4. But my biggest game that actually came out in 2017 was myself Cuphead, just because I'm a big I love old Disney animation. Shooters are fun. Co-op shooters are
Right.
great, and it was just it lived up to the hype to me. And I just love. I always have a softer spot for like indie games that have like a small studio, and then I don't know. They just a lot more creativity comes out of those projects, and going from like a small boss rush shooter where they were gonna like have it out within a couple years to getting sponsored by Microsoft, and they really pushed it, and that game just sold an insane amount of copies, and I can't believe how successful it ended up being. So that ended up being my top game.
Yeah, 2017. I think that I don't even think it's that big of a deal at this point to say it's probably the best year in video gaming ever. Like, period.
You really think so? Wow.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're talking about
yeah.
a top tier, if not the best Zelda game.
Yes.
You're talking about the Switch, which is the fastest selling console of all time.
Yeah.
You know, Nier Automata, which I haven't played yet, but I heard is amazing. Another Persona game. All these. It seemed like possibly the toughest game of the year decision.
Yeah.
So for a lot of people, you got a mainline Mario game. You know, you got just it was never ending. It really wasn't. I have a huge backlog of PS4 games that I didn't get to that came out this last year. That being said, my personal favorite game of 2017, I didn't have to think about it very hard. It was Zelda.
Yeah.
I haven't felt that way about a video game since I was a kid. It was just a magical world with stuff to find around every nook and cranny, and I wanted to find it. And I spent a ton of time with that game. I can't wait to replay it. I'm waiting until I basically forget how to solve the puzzles, and I'm going to replay it again, and this time with the DLC. That's why I haven't tried out the DLC yet, is because it hasn't been long enough for me to replay a game that long, and I want to replay it, so I don't want to spoil that replay by just choosing my already existing save file and playing the DLC for it. So I think maybe by the end of this year I'll probably play through it again with the, I'm not going to buy it, but whenever the Game of the Year edition comes out or whatever, I'll play that version of it, although I'll pay for the DLC separately.
I want to revisit it too. I mean, like you said, I don't really like open world games, and that was the first time I really played an open world game and actually like didn't get bored, and like just always had that. People have made this point again and again and again, but like if you haven't played it, it really is true when you play it, that sense of childlike wonder that you used to have, and like especially when we first got into like the closest thing I can kind of match it to is like that first time I played Mario 64, and you're like, oh well, what's over there?
Yes, exactly.
And we got that with Zelda, like a brand new feeling with that.
That's the first time I felt that way, and it was it was something special. It made it so you can play the game however you want. If you're not big on collectibles and just exploring every nook and cranny, you can ignore that stuff and just go straight to the main story points. If you wanted to, there was a point in the game where I turned into basically a bounty hunter and used my radar to just find specific types of monsters so I could harvest their parts, and I would just farm that for new armor and things of that nature. So it's really, there's something there for everyone, I feel like, in one way or another. And yeah, it was just phenomenal. I'm not a big Zelda fan either. I'm really not. I have played and beaten a few of them, but more games than not I've played and didn't feel interested enough to beat it. So
yeah, it was a nice breath of fresh air for me, just because like I had just finished Twilight Princess, and it took me a long time to really kind of get myself in the mode to play that game, and I enjoyed it. Like, great music, great characters, great story, but the temples were just so frustrating because they all had like a very specific way you needed to solve it, and you felt boxed into like the developer's puzzle.
Right.
And that the way that the shrines are designed in Zelda and Breath of the Wild, like there's multiple solutions to things, and like you said, you don't even have to go to certain shrines, and there was just multiple ways to play. I mean, there were people out there who were going through without even defeating all the divine beasts and everything.
Yeah,
and it's just
exactly.
It's just incredible.
Yeah, so that was definitely my favorite game of 2017, and I can't wait to play it again.
You have any like runner-ups at all?
You know what? Probably Mario Odyssey. Not as hot on that one as I was with Breath of the Wild. I think it's good. It does have some flaws, though. It's a little bit too easy.
Yeah.
But that was still a great game. I dumped a lot of time into that and enjoyed myself quite thoroughly. I don't know if there's another runner-up. A big problem is that there was a lot of RPGs that I just didn't have the time to get to that were up there. And they're on the list, and the next game I probably play will be Nier Automata. But there was a lot of the top-tier games I didn't play. Probably my runner-up is either Yakuza 0 or Mario.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Well, favorite game of 2017? Hopefully we'll get some really good games for 2018. I mean, 2017 really set the bar really high. But something that's going to happen in 2019 is that Sony actually recently made an announcement about their PS Plus service. And actually received the email. It's a direct email. What's going to happen is that all the titles, what they're going to be doing is PlayStation 3 and PlayStation Vita will not be included as of March 8th, 2019. So that just means that all the games that you still claimed and all that, like PlayStation 3 and Vita games, you're still going to be able to keep those as long as you keep your membership, but they're going to stop offering those free games.
Right.
So,
yeah, to me, what this signals is I think they're making room. They're getting ready to announce the PlayStation 5. That's what I think they're doing here, because you can't really support... I don't see them supporting a fourth system on that service. It's already kind of insane that they still give out free PS3 games every week. So I think what's basically the way you can watch these life cycles of these consoles is they keep the last system around now for a while, just like they used to. You know, the NES sold. They made new games for the NES till 1995, even though the Super Nintendo came out in 91. So maybe 92. So they keep these old systems around, and I think that once the older system falls by the wayside, that's the key telling point when they're making room for the new console, because you can sell the PS3 in the same store as the PS4. I don't think you can sell the PS3, the PS4, and the PS5 all on the same shelf. I think that's too much. So when they said that they were going to get rid of the Vita games and the PlayStation 3 games on the system, that just signals to me, okay, well, they're making room for a new spot where now it's going to be PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4 games on this every week instead. So it matches up perfectly, because you said 2019. I think either at E3 this year or late 2018, they'll probably announce that the PS5 is under development or whatever. They might show a picture of it. And then I think by 2019, it'll either be coming out, or they'll probably show it off extensively at E3 2019, and then maybe it'll come out later that year. So that's what this signals to me.
Yeah, and as someone who constantly keeps track of this, and I'm a giant PS Vita fan, I love the system, but they're really scraping the bottom of the barrel every month for these free games.
Yeah.
So it's just, I'm thankful for how long we got the service for, because as you said, three systems being supported by this service is amazing. I heard someone complain, they're just this is why I don't they're not even going to lower the price for their service or anything, and it's just well, they gave you a lot of games, and you know that there's a crap load of games that you probably haven't even touched in your free library.
Right.
It is what it is.
Well, and those games are just gonna come to PS4 instead of getting 3 PS4 games. You'll get 6 or whatever.
You think so? Maybe.
I don't think they're gonna keep it because it's a contest. There's these major video game media outlets like IGN and stuff every month when Xbox and PS4 releases their list of free games, they compare the two and how much the value is worth per set of games. So they compare them next to each other and say, you're getting $70 worth of Xbox games, you're getting $140 worth of PS4 and PS3 games and stuff. So it's a constant contest. I don't think that they could afford to say, okay, well, now we're only giving you $40 worth of free games because we dropped the other systems.
Yeah.
So I think you're just going to end up getting more PS4 games until the PS5 comes out. And I'm curious to see what they do with that because I don't remember when the free game started, but I don't remember what games they gave out for the PS4 when it first came out. I'm curious to see what they give out for the first month of PS Plus when the new system comes out. So, yeah, that's where I'm at with that's where I'm at with that. So on the same topic as the favorite game, I was just curious, what was your favorite movie of 2017?
Favorite movie? I know what yours is. My favorite movie? Ah, man, you're really throwing me on here. Let's start with yours first. Let me kind of brainstorm, but I know yours.
My favorite movie of 2017 was Blade Runner.
Yes.
Saw it 4 or 5 times in the theater, which I hate going to the movie theater. Amazing movie. It blew my expectations out of the water. It was the biggest surprise, I think, of 2017 as far as movies go. I expected it to be garbage. I expected it to be a cash grab, especially when I saw that they casted Harrison Ford. It bothers me when I see that because, spoilers for the original movie, but he's basically supposed to be a replicant and have a 4-year lifespan. And I think that, so when I saw that, I said, okay, well, great. They're just bringing in old cast members so you have something to recognize when you go see their...
Everything pointed to a half-ass
sequel,
Hollywood sequel.
Just a cash-in.
Yeah.
So when I went and saw it, and it was possibly better than the original, which is my, all-time third, like my number 3 favorite movie of all time, it was a big deal. It was thoughtful. It was thought-provoking. The characters were good. The acting was good. The set pieces were amazing.
Yeah.
The art design was incredible. The soundtrack was awesome. It was just an all-around fantastic movie. Definitely see it if you're into that type of movie. If you're the type of person who is more like popcorn, like Transformers or whatever.
Not the movie for you then.
Yeah, it's not going to be a movie for you. But if you're into thought-provoking sci-fi movies, definitely watch it. It was amazing.
It was pretty close for me. I loved this movie, and I really wish I came back and watched it in theaters again. I just never got a chance because it was hard to find a point to dedicate another 3 hours in the movie theater. But I loved it. I was really happy with it. I remember thinking while I was watching it, I can't believe this movie got made.
Yeah.
But my favorite movie actually was, I was double checking to see if it qualified, but it came out December 1st, 2017. And my favorite was Shape of Water, which I actually saw that movie twice in theaters. And it's just, I don't remember the last time I came and saw a movie more than once in theaters. I loved it a lot. Like everything about it. Like there's not one character I disliked. I love the villain, Michael Shannon. He's incredible, and
he always plays such a great villain.
Oh my god, he was incredible in that movie, and it was just such a good fairy tale. And I got a soft spot. I like romance, but I also like horror and all that. Mm-hmm. So it was just such a nice blend of it, and I don't know. I really feel like this is one of his best movies that he directed. I was really impressed by it. I don't know if you were quite as impressed as I was with it, but I had a really good time with this movie.
I liked it a lot. I definitely didn't dislike it. It would just, wasn't my movie of the year, but it was. I recommend it. If someone asked me what I thought of it, I tell them it's good and to watch it. I thought the characters were good. I felt attached to them. There's moments where you think that certain characters are gonna die or whatever, or they do die, and I genuinely I was attached to them. So that's always a good sign of a movie, especially a drama when it's character driven. It's not an action movie. So I thought it was good. I thought it was solid. I'm not big on a drama, so it's not going to be my movie of the year. But it was up there. I liked it more than I've seen some of the other. It's up for the Best Picture award.
Is it? I still don't care about the Oscars. I don't even like.
Yeah, I don't really care. I don't really care either. But I like to just kind of watch them. Because if they're up there, typically they're pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So I compared to the other movies up there, it was probably my favorite. I also saw Darkest Hour, which is nominated. It's the movie about Winston Churchill, and I liked that too, but I liked Shape of Water better. So it was solid. It was definitely a recommendation for me.
Any movies you're looking forward to in 2018? Not to get too off track, but
me, I try not to get excited about movies.
Yeah.
So I guess, as stupid as it sounds, probably that Avengers movie, only because this is the end of this 20 film arc. So I'm so invested at this point because I had to watch these 20 fucking movies in order to know what's going on, that I just kind of want it to be over. So and I'm kind of curious what they do with it, because it's something absurd, like 50 or 60 superheroes in this movie.
God.
So I'm just really curious as to how it's something like this has never been done before, ever. So I'm just kind of curious how they're going to balance all those heroes and make a competent movie out of it. So I would say, just off the top of my head, I'm sure there's something better coming out that I'm actually excited for, but just off the top of my head, I'm kind of interested to see the new Avengers movie, just to get some closure after 20 fucking films.
I'm looking forward to. We're gonna show it at my movie theater pretty soon. Death of Stalin. Have you seen the trailer for that yet?
Yes, it's been online, and I've been trying to get a copy of it, but there's nothing that meets my standards of quality.
It looks great. I'm really excited about that.
Oh, you know what movie I'm most excited about actually this year is the Island of Dogs.
Oh God, how did I even forget that?
From Wes Anderson, yeah.
Yes, you and I were in the movie theater, and we both weren't even aware of it, and the trailer just pops on.
And we both were like, well, definitely seeing that as soon as possible.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, moving on from movies, my next topic is just, once again, we kind of grazed off on this in the beginning, but the Nintendo Switch is officially, as of this recording, 1 year old in the launch. It launched in March 3rd of 2017, and I just wanted to talk about.
Oh yeah, today's the 1 year anniversary. Yeah. That means my play log is deleted now.
I figured that'd be a way to talk about that too. So I figured we could talk about how we felt before the Switch launched, and then how we feel about it now, and where we want it to go, and what could they work on, possible new features.
Well, I think we talked about it. We made a podcast.
We did.
I think I was pretty intoxicated when we watched the.
You were very angry.
Yeah, when we watched the Direct, and it was the big reveal.
The big one, yeah.
Yeah, and they didn't say much at all. They didn't show us much. Now, obviously, we know after a year of owning the console, we both got it on launch. It's a great system. It just really is. It's got so much versatility. Obviously, I'm not a big portable gamer, so I don't play it portably that much, but I watch a lot of TV shows that I wouldn't say you need to pay attention to a lot. I like to watch Dragon Ball Z once a year. So that's a big undertaking. It's 300 episodes. And I've seen it a million times. So I don't need to be paying full attention. And sometimes in that situation, I'll play the Switch while I'm sitting on the couch with the whatever I'm watching in the background. So that's great. It's great. I went to on a trip to Japan like 3 weeks after the system came out, and that was awesome having it on all the long train rides through the country and also the 20-hour flight that I took. So that's, it's really useful for stuff like that. Me personally, I really, really like the customization of it, just being able to switch out the Joy-Cons with different colored Joy-Cons, and I'm sure eventually they'll come out with like themed ones based on, franchises and stuff, so you'll have like a Mario themed Joy-Con instead of just a solid color.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to stuff like that. I'm a sucker for things like that. The minute that they announce a Super Nintendo themed Joy-Con or a Nintendo 64 GameCube themed Joy-Con, I'm gonna pre-order it and waste $80. So there's no question in my mind. The second they announce something like that, I'm gonna buy it, and so it's perfect for people like me. As far as the game lineup goes, I think that pretty much everyone will agree that it's up there for best launch year of all time.
It's ridiculous how many games are available in the system, and not just like ports and crap, like actual good first-party games released for it. Like,
yeah, even if you discount Zelda as being a port because it came out on the Wii U, you're still looking at one of the top Mario games. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, even though it's a port, it's a fantastic port.
I didn't play the original Wii U one, so this was amazing for me. I kept holding back on buying it, and I'm so glad I did, because I've dumped a lot of hours in the Mario Kart 8, and like just the fact that like it's just such a stress-free Mario Kart 8. Everything's unlocked, no nonsense. The online play surprisingly works pretty well. I don't have any issues with it for the most part.
Well, we get knocked off occasionally, but as far as
Nintendo standard,
speed-wise and stuff, it's solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, so lots of great ports, and then a few solid, unique titles, and some really great indie games on there.
Yeah.
That I think are underappreciated or they don't get enough attention. And the system, talking about the Wii U, one of the biggest problems with that system was that it was a fucking chore to use. We were talking about this earlier because I played my Wii U yesterday and it sucked. The Wii U is a fucking chore to use, and that's part of the reason why it's a huge hassle for me to, if I'm having people over, to be like, let's play Mario Kart, and then you have to pull all the Wiimote, you have to scrounge up all the Wiimotes, which are always out of battery, even if they've been off for the whole time. You have to find the nunchucks or the classic controllers or whatever, because the Wiimote fucking sucks for a controller. You have to make sure that the tablet is charged and stuff, because someone's got to use the tablet. And it just turns into this big chore. The system's slow. With the Switch, everything is instant.
Yeah.
They really, really focus, and I can't stress this enough. If you haven't used a Switch or you don't own one, they make it so easy to just pop in and out of that thing. You press the button to pull it out of sleep mode, and instantly you're on the interface within less than 1 second.
Yeah.
That's the response time of pressing the on button to when the system comes on. It's less than 1 second.
And your game is suspended and still there, and you can go jump right back into whatever moment you were in.
Exactly. The controllers are attached to the system, so you don't have to find them, and pull them out of a drawer. You don't have to they're rechargeable. You don't have to make sure that they are charged. That's another thing. The Joy-Cons, they split up in half, so it's extremely easy to assume that people are going to have enough controllers to play a 4-player game like that.
Yeah.
I don't have 4 Pro controllers or 4 sets of Joy-Cons or anything, but if we're in a pinch and I need 4 controllers, I can pretty much guarantee that I'm going to find some way to make it work.
Yeah.
Or maybe your friend brought his Switch over, and now you have 2 Switches, therefore you have 4 Joy-Cons, and 4 people can play, even if you've never bought another controller. So there's a lot of versatility to the system, like I was saying before. The games are awesome, and Yeah. So what did you think before and during the system?
Well, before I was just as excited as everyone else was, and then we watched that press conference, and it was just such a terrible press conference. They did an awful job. Actually decided not to pre-order the system because of that. You've had a pre-order, but as someone who I'm a single guy, I go to school. My job isn't the highest income in the world, so I have to be really careful about where my money goes. So I wasn't convinced by the system, and then when it came out, I don't know what happened to me. I kind of just the the launch was just so exciting when it came out. I remember how excited you were, and you showed me yours, and then the seed was planted. And then when I was at GameStop, and I walked in there, and all I was gonna do was buy a copy of Zelda for Wii U, and then I happened to overhear that some people didn't show up for their pre-orders, and they were gonna sell them soon. So I had a moment right there where I went, well, I'm already gonna have to spend $60 for this game. I'm gonna get one eventually. I had my tax return. That was another smart thing they did with that launch March. So everyone had their tax returns fresh. So it was hard to have that much money in my hand and go, all right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and buy it. So once I bought it, I was immediately. Unlike you, I actually really love handhelds, so I was super happy to have it. And the thing about the Wii U was I didn't buy it for the longest time because it just continuously looked like wasn't worth the purchase. But then when I bought it, I actually ended up being really happy with the gamepad, ironically enough. People hated it. I liked it because I was dating someone at the time, so like she'd be watching something, I could sit there and use my gamepad, I could lay down on my bed. And I remember when the Wii U was pretty much failing, I went in my head, I'm like, oh man, it kind of sucks this wasn't successful because I really liked this concept. But the Switch actually improved it. So I get to have that again. So I used it. I took it everywhere, like all the time when I first had it. I think everyone has their Switch honeymoon where they want to have it with them at all times.
Right.
Our friend Lars has it, and he like right away was like carries
it
around everywhere. So I will say that I don't carry it around with me as much as I thought I would.
Big.
It's just too big, and I like handhelds. I like actual handhelds. Like I love like right now I've fallen in love with the PlayStation Vita last year, and that thing is always with me because it's easy to take with you. But as far as like trips goes, I took a trip too, and it was very useful. I was very happy to have that on the plane with me.
Yeah. If you travel for work and you've ever enjoyed playing any video game, you need to get a Switch.
Yeah.
Like, even if you're not a gamer, you haven't bought a game console since you were a kid, but you occasionally will play a game and enjoy it. There's something on there for you, and it will. If you're traveling multiple times a month, you kind of need to have one. You really do.
Yeah.
I think there is an issue with the portability. Like you said, you can't really. It's too big to put in a pocket. You need a bag with you.
Yeah.
So I find myself, if I take it out of the house, I'm playing in like tabletop mode usually. But aside from that one flaw with portability, it's great, and something that really we should focus on as a consumer basis, the fact that now we have a unified front from Nintendo where it's not 3DS or DS and Game Boy versus okay, well, we need to separate our resources and put a little bit towards the portables versus the consoles. It's now every single major release, Pokemon, Metroid, Mario, it's all going to be, whether you're a portable gamer or a console gamer, it will all be on the same system. You're not going to have to worry about, oh, well, the new Pikmin game's out on 3DS. I don't really play 3DS, so I guess I'm going to miss out on that. You're going to get that. Whatever the new game is, you're getting it. And that's a big deal. So, what about your thoughts for the future? What would you like to see? And what do you think they've done wrong?
Well, the system obviously financially did really well, but I think the thing they messed up on, I wouldn't even say messed up on, it's just that, okay, yes, Mario Kart 8 has smooth online play, but I feel like Nintendo hasn't listened to us a lot recently about what gamers actually want, but they're still ignoring us when it comes to online gaming. And
Right.
we don't, but then again, we don't know. So that's what I'm trying to set my hopes for, is cautiously optimistic about their online service in the future. And I really hope they do it like in a good way, because so far that's what they botched, was that stupid mobile app. Like, that was a joke for voice chat.
I don't expect it to ever be updated again. I think that was just a lost cause. I think they've given up on that.
Yeah.
They still have never added another game. I don't think they will. I think they're back to the drawing board on a fix for that, because yeah, they put Splatoon 2 on there, never heard about it again, and I don't think anyone uses it. So I would never use it. And yeah, I think the app is done.
I really remember when that video leaked out. Some guy out there, for those of you who didn't see it, a video leaked out where it was supposedly a new Switch firmware update, and it had party system, and what were the other features it had? It had cloud saving.
Yeah, it was all the stuff that everyone wants, and it
Yes.
was a faked video.
Video. So I think that video perfectly outlines my feelings about what they could have done better. Overall, it's a solid system. What they did right. I think what I want out of the system more, and I don't think enough people are really talking about this, is that I kind of wish the interface had more personality. That's all. Maybe a little bit more, just a little bit more themes. And don't get me wrong, I know what they were going for. They were going for a clean, nice look, but it doesn't cry Nintendo to me. Because as much as people didn't like the Wii U, but a lot of people did like the interface and how it looked. I'm not trying to say they should go a Miiverse route and have a bunch of Miis running around in our Switch screens.
Right.
I'm not saying that, but I do like the idea of just some type of theme, just some kind of kooky theme playing in the background at times, because the Wii and the Wii U had a lot of personality. Even the GameCube had a lot of personality in the interface.
Yeah, I mean, look at the Wii shop, like the Wii shop music and stuff is like well known.
Yes.
You know?
So, yeah, I could see that. I have heard a little bit about it, but yeah, it's. I think it's just a matter of time till we get some sort of themes. I would like to see it. There should, it'd be nice to have some background music or whatever. For me personally, I think where they messed up the most, and it's always, all these complaints are just typical Nintendo shit. So it's like the online stuff they never do. The online saving, they never do it. They haven't embraced the internet really at all.
No.
So that's obviously up there. I think one of the major flaws for me is they haven't even mentioned the Virtual Console. And that was a huge deal with the Wii.
Yeah.
The Virtual Console was a huge deal, and in the current climate where people are buying every piece of shit game that they've already played because it's on the Switch, because it's portable now, I think you're missing a huge opportunity where I would, as much as we joke about it, as gamers, we joke about having to rebuy Mario 3 a million times. It's like, I would rebuy those games because now I have them portably and on my TV, and to be able to just pop in, we talked about this before, they need to release some sort of NES Classic
Like Netflix
physical
type
game. No, like the NES Classic, the SNES Classic, if you already own a Nintendo console, because those aren't marketed really towards real gamers. Those are marketed towards, your sister, your mom, your grandma that play these games or whatever.
Yeah.
So if you are a gamer and you don't want to spend the money on the hardware, it seems like a no-brainer to me. Release a physical game or download or whatever that's the NES Classic Pack, that's the same price or whatever as the system, and you get all the games that are on there. You're getting a discount because normally they're $5 a piece, and Nintendo's not having to create the hardware, so they're making more of a profit. It's a win-win. You don't have to go to the store and hunt one of these things down, but at the same time, you're getting the games on your system. So I think that's a no-brainer that they missed out on, and I think the Virtual Console in general, being able to take these games wherever you want, is a huge as a huge selling point.
Meanwhile, the Wii U still has TurboGrafx 16 games getting posted to it.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
What?
It's bizarre. So that's what I would like to see out of that, out of the next year. I think they, at the very least, need to come out and say there will not be a virtual console.
Yes, make an announcement, something.
So people stop, wanting it, or won't stop people from wanting it, but it will stop people from expecting it to come. So they need to do something about that. To me, it seems like a no-brainer, but especially with the success of the Super Nintendo and Nintendo Classic, obviously there's a market for these games still, and maybe the best way is to sell them in a set like that. I would love, especially as game collectors, I would love a physical game like that where it's got 30 NES games on it or whatever.
I would buy it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a deal for both the consumer and Nintendo, because realistically someone's not going to buy all 30 of those NES games separately. And at the same time, they're already selling those games at that price, but they're selling them with manufacturing costs because they have to make the system and produce the boards, produce the system itself, and box it up, ship it to Walmart. Now you're creating a situation where you can sell it for the same price. Say you're getting a good deal on this because these are normally $5 a piece, and they don't have to create a new system every time and ship it with controllers and stuff. So it seems like a win-win for both parties, and I honestly, you can write that down, because I won't be surprised at all if that comes to fruition at some point, like a an NES remix type of game, but just the straight ROMs. So with that being said, thanks for listening to the podcast. Do you have anything to say to our listeners?
Thanks for coming by, guys. I'm Bowman.
I'm Pat, and we'll be doing this every week from now on. So if you like what you heard, please hit the subscribe button. We'll have this up on Podbean, Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play Music, and I'll probably upload it to our YouTube channel as well. So thanks so much for listening.